Hello, welcome to this session on ethics GS-4 Section A answer writing. I am Mudit Jain. I am IRS of 2018 batch. Before joining IRS, I was probationer in Indian Police Service for a couple of batches. I am author of Decode Ethics book. It is doing very well. This is the second edition of the book, which has contribution by 25 officers from across services. It has sample questions. It has solved questions of previous year. Various officers have solved the papers. It has quotes, examples, illustrations, and whatnot. I'm also coming up with a book on world history, that is Decode History. So the idea of bringing this book is that uh, exam-oriented content, concise and comprehensive exam-oriented content is not available in market for world history. Aspirants are studying everything under the sun, but then it is not at all useful. So that is why I'm bringing this book. It will be published in due course, and I'll update you further details. So before starting the session, I would like to tell that my notes and my answer copies of related to this session are available on my blog, that is muthijanblog.wordpress.com. You can join my Telegram channel, that is Decode Civils Group, for free interactive guidance from me, or you can visit my YouTube channel for exam strategies that I used across the years to clear civils. So coming on to the next slide, these are just details regarding my book. Uh, these are the areas that they cover, the index of the books. So this is the session. So let's begin with the section A ethics answer writing session. Now, as you must be aware that every year 12 or 13 questions are asked in ethics, which are 10 mark each. So this amounts to 120 to 130 marks paper of section A. Questions are always 10 markers. Every now and then 5 marker question are also asked as subsets, but majorly 10 marker questions are asked, which are to be answered in 150 words. 2 pages are given, not more than 2 pages are given by UPSC to answer 10 marker question, and then you have to answer these within 7 minutes. This is the most important part of it, that you have to answer these question in 7 minutes, because if you don't do this, you won't be able to complete section A within 90 minutes, and if you don't cover section A within 90 or even say 100 minutes, then covering 6 case studies in less than 80 minutes is very tough. I have written 4 mains, I have qualified them all. This, I am speaking from my personal experience, that you need at least 80-85 minutes to comprehensively and holistically answer case studies. So maintain pace in section A. Now the questions are mostly analytical. If you have seen my previous year question paper analysis on my blog, you would be already aware of this. But then for those who haven't seen that post, in 2013, 14 and 15, questions were very analytical. But then in 2016, things changed a little. Questions were static, questions were theoretical. For example, Rawls' social justice theory, Weber, views on bureaucrats, Seven Sense, and many other questions were theoretical. But then 90% of time questions are analytical, uh, and either way the questions are from syllabus. Even if they are theoretical, trust me, they are from syllabus. So it's not that uh, you cannot answer. If you have prepared well, you can answer ethics question very easily. Now this is a broad view of what we will try to cover in this session. Now, this I have already told you regarding section A. Section B will deal in another video. Now, this is not the agenda of this session per se, but then in few minutes I'll explain this as well, that how to prepare ethics. Now, first and foremost, read syllabus. Even before you pick book, even before say my book, you have to read syllabus. Why I say so is that syllabus has huge number of keywords. If you remember these keywords even without reading any book, you can answer at least 3 or 4 questions. So keywords is very important, as you will see in the session, uh, and syllabus is a repository of keywords. So go through syllabus. You will get huge clues about answer writing by reading syllabus. Second, and very important, is previous year question papers. So this not only tells you the focus areas what UPSC has been asking, but again it tells you keywords. Like in 2016, questions were asked like 7 cents, roles. In 2014 or 15, there was question on bureaucratic attitude. You can very easily use these keywords in your answers in upcoming attempts. So this not only shows presence of mind, because trust me, examiner would also know that seven sins was asked in 2016 or Rawls question has been asked. And when you use these keywords in coming attempts, it shows presence of mind. It also provides all important depth and sugar coating to your answers. Then comes the book part of it. So you can read any book, but then if you read my book, you can find n number of keywords, 200, 300. Sky is the limit as far as keywords are concerned in my book. uh, you can find examples, at least 200 examples are there, because uh, I have solved, my batchmates have solved papers of previous years. So if 13 questions are asked in 1 year and 7 years questions are solved, that is 90 plus questions. At least one example is written in every question. So even if you read just question answers, you will have at least 100 examples from my book. uh, you will know about answer structure, you will know about how to use ethics per se. Now I'll detail this in the session. You will know how to use thinkers theory part of it. So after you have read the book, make notes. Notes making is very important for entire GS, for optional, for whatever you read. So same goes for ethics. Make notes and revise them. Now for ethics, it is not important to make notes of static theories and thinkers. What is important is that you should have a list of keywords, 100, 200 keywords you should have. Revise them 4, 5, 6 times and then practice test. So if you have a list of say 100, 150 keywords, you will remember 50 of them. And just before going to your final exam, revise that list and use keywords in your answers. Next is diagrams. My book has ample diagrams. In this session, I'll tell you how to use diagrams. Examples, the do's and don'ts we'll try to cover in the session, and I'll also discuss the aspect of overall mind training. So this is the how part of it. Now coming on to the answer writing part. So this is a broad picture, as you can see here. Answer structure is very important as far as ethics is concerned, GS is concerned, or optional. In ethics, we'll follow this answer structure, that is intro, definition, keywords, news background, thinkers, theories. We'll follow 80-20 rule. I'll detail this further. We'll see the difference between usage of theories and usage of example. Now, we'll try to write more and more answer in points and not para. I'll discuss this why. How many points you want to write? How should be the points? Should points be generic points of GS or ethics points? Then we'll also try to discuss the presentation part, underlining, diagrams, examples is the main focus area, and I'll also discuss the importance of intro and conclusion. My answer copies are available on my blog, that is Mudijan blog, and you can simply download them from there and practice your own answer writing using this session and my answer copies. Now, this is the beginning of the answer structure. So, as I've already told, answer structure is the most important part of ethics answers. Now, answers can be written both in paragraph format as well as points. Now, this depends on demand of question. If question is such that points cannot be written, then don't force points on a question. You can very well answer uh, using paragraph approach, but then as I've discussed in this part, what happens when you write answer in points is that you will have more dimensions. You will easily uh, cover more dimensions when you write in points. But then what happens when you try to write answer in paragraph is that you digress from the issue. You digress from the dimensions. You tend to focus on only one aspect or two aspects of the answer. But then what GS answer writing requires is dimensions and not depth. Depth is required in optional and not GS. GS is all about multiple dimensions. So as I've said, you can try both approaches, para or points. You might get equal marks in para or point answer, but then I favor answer written in points. So the first and foremost thing of ethics question or GS question is introduction. Now, what we write in introduction in a question of ethics, we try to define the keywords that are given in the question. For example, if I say, if I give you a question on public servant, that it was asked in 2019 that what is the role of public servant. So try to define public servant. Now you can have a generic definition of public servant, or you can use definition of public servant given in Prevention of Corruption Act. So either way it is fine, but then if you use the later, that is Prevention of Corruption Act, uh, this is what sugar coating means. So you are not only telling the examiner that you are aware of the act, you are adding a theoretical aspect to your answer. So this will give you edge over others. Similarly, if there is a question on emotional intelligence, then emotional intelligence becomes your keyword and you will need to define emotional intelligence. So introduction is all about definitions of keywords. Not often it happens that ethics question of section A are asked from current affairs. But then, if I'm not wrong, in 2016 there was question uh, on Swachh Bharat Abhiyan or social persuasion, social influence and persuasion. In such questions, you can answer introduction and then answer the news background of it. So, in such questions which are from current affair, like we'll deal with in GS2 and 3, you have to write news background. You have to tell the examiner that you are aware why this question is asked, from where this question is asked. So this again gives extra weight, extra advantage to you. Now, introduction should not be more than 2 to 3 lines. It should be concise. It is again better. Introduction, we always say that write in paragraphs, but then in intro as well, you can use bullets. You can write numbers 1, 2, 3 points. So you can try it either way. Both are fine. Coming to the answer body. Once you are done with the introduction, ethics is not a subject where questions are four-liner or five-liner like in GS1, 2, and 3. Questions are straightforward. So there are no statements per se to handle in ethics paper. There are easy questions. So we do not often need to make separate headings in ethics, like we have to make in GS2, GS3, and GS1. So you can straight away start your answer body. There is no need per se to make headings. If a question is asking 2 or 3 different aspects, then make separate headings for each. We have already discussed the difference between points in paragraph approach. I have already told you about dimensions, benefits of multidimensional answer. I have already told that there is a risk of digressing from question if you are using paragraph approach. So it is up to you uh, which approach you are comfortable in. Use that approach. Now, very important aspect, that is theory. So how much theory you have to use, how much examples you have to use. Always remember this rule, that is 80-20 rule. So 20% max of your answer can be theory. About 80%, 85% of your answer must be application based or example based. Always remember this rule, do not forget it. Your ethics answers will be automatically taken care of if you remember this rule. I have seen people scoring 150 in ethics. I have myself scored 110 plus thrice. At the same time, I have seen people scoring less than 70, 80, or less than 90. Even the toppers, even those who have got IS rank, my own friends, I won't name them, but then they scored pretty bad in ethics. So, what is the reason? When I talked to them, they said that their answers were theoretical. So, it is a very fine line. You have to use theory, you have to show off, you have to sugarcoat, you have to tell the examiner that you are aware of theory, you know thinkers, you're defining keywords, but then do not overdo it. So, theory helps, as I have written here, theory helps in keeping answers ethical. Keywords are required, but then it should be maximum 20 part of any answer. Overdoing makes the answer mechanical. So your main focus must be on examples. That is why examples are very important in ethics. Other subject where examples are very important is geography answer writing. So now examples, uh, I have seen people trying try to write examples from their daily life. They are writing example of their parents, family, teachers, and all. But then in this session, I'll tell you the do's and don't list with respect to example, because trust me, example are very important for ethics. So in almost every question in ethics, it is already mentioned that explain with example. Even if it is not written in question, you have to write at least one example. At least one example is very important. But then, if it is written in question that explain with example, if everybody is writing one example in that and you want to gain edge over your competitors, then write two examples in such question. UPSC is asking one, you are giving UPSC something extra, you are giving examiner something extra. So write two examples in those questions. So coming on to the next slide, this is the overall do's and don'ts list with respect to examples. Do not write examples related to your friends, parents, school, college life. Now I'll tell you the reason. Firstly, examiner does not know your friends, parents, school and college life. Even if say he is aware about your school, if it is a famous school or college, uh, I'm not sure if examiner would be able to appreciate your example. Ethics is a paper where even your parents can attempt 250 marks question. Then what is the difference between those who have prepared ethics for entire year and those who haven't? Ethics is a paper where uh, you can attempt 250 marks, no doubt, but then you have to sell yourself to gain marks. By this, what I mean to say is that try to show your competitive side, try to show your professional side, try to show that you have work experience, try to show the examiner that you have that bureaucratic attitude in you, that you can be selected, because you never know, there might be positive bias. Examiners might be looking for such examples, and you might have written that XYZ was my friend in school or college, and such incident happened that day. This simply is a waste of example. It does not uh, sell you at all. So what I used to do was I used to write examples. You can still write examples from your life, but then these should be very important. These should be life turning examples. For example, uh, as I told in the beginning of video, I was IPS probationer, but then I got injured during training. I had ligament tears, and then I was detected with osteoarthritis. So these are real major things. After that, I flunked pre in 2016, and again wrote exam in 2017 and got 173 rank and changed my service from IPS to IRS. Now, this is a big thing. uh, I'm not flaunting it. I'm not making myself look any higher than others. But then this is something that can be written, can be written in questions, for example, where courage related question or perseverance related question or hard work related question. Second, you can always write examples from hobby. I have massively used cricket in my answers. I am a cricket freak. So, in 2014, there was a question about which famous personality you like. Write the gist of his teachings. I wrote about MS Dhoni in that question. I have written Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, n number of cricketers in my answers. So you can use your hobby, whatever hobby you have. Sports events like Olympics or World Cup or something, these events have very motivational stories. I am sure that you must have seen a number of such videos on social media and Facebook and Twitter. But then you perhaps you wouldn't have realized that this particular thing can be used in paper. For example, I clearly remember watching Olympics. There was a race, and the racer literally jumped across the finish line so that she could come first. So this is the example of willpower. This is the example of achieving something. So such examples can be written. uh, in sports you always see sportsmanship examples, like in tennis you must have seen Djokovic or Federer treating their opponents very humbly. So you can write such examples. Coming on to these three, now these are very important, but then I won't ask you to lie. If you haven't gone through any of these, then do not use. If you have already been to interview, then you can write incidents related to UPSC interview, that such and such thing happened with me in during my UPSC interview, or during my UPSC medical test, or during my training phase in my academy. Now, when I told you about selling yourself, nothing better would sell you than these three. Examiner, when he sees examples related to these, it will be clear to him that you have already appeared for interview, or you have already given the medical test, or you are already under training. Trust me, this won't have any negative effect. I am not sure if it has positive effect or not, but then if at all there is a positive bias, you will get it. You will get it for sure. So what I used to do was I used to ensure that the in the very first question I used to mention one of these. uh, this is after getting my first rank in 2014. So in 2015 and 2017, the very first question I used to make clear to the examiner that I had appeared for interview or medical test or training. So I am literally selling myself. uh, you can use your work ex, like I worked in Accenture Bangalore. You must be working somewhere. uh, When we work, we have n number of varied experiences day in, day out. Just filter out experiences which you think are worthy enough to write in ethics paper. So work-X comes handy in ethics examples. Then current affairs. So I already told in the beginning of video that there was a question related to Swachh Bharat and social influence and persuasion. Likewise, there are many current affair issues which can be easily written in examples. We'll discuss 4 questions at the end of the video, and there you will see how I've used current affairs in my examples. Now, these three. So it might very well happen that the examiner is a senior citizen, that your checker is a old age person, or a woman is checking your paper. So why not try to even use this fact to your advantage? Write examples that are old age centric, write examples that are women centric. Do not write example related to one particular religion only. Try to cover all the religions. With this, I mean, for example, if you have written about Buddhist ethics once, then do not write about Buddhist ethics in next answer. Write about Islamic ethics, Jain ethics, or from Ramayana, Mahabharat, Gita. So there are n number of religions. Sikhism you can quote. Uh, there are various learnings from n number of religions. Make your paper uh, secular per se. So do not focus on your own religion, because this might go against you. Previous year question papers, I've already told in the beginning that previous year question paper helps you in knowing the focus areas, knowing the keywords. Uh, Also, these can be used in your uh, answers in further years. And the given questions. Now, this is very tough. Time is very less. You have to answer a question in 7 minutes. But then, say you are on fourth question right now. You have already done 1, 2, and 3. In third question, there was a keyword. Use it in the fourth question. Who is stopping you? This this is perhaps the most important instrument. I'll call it a Brahmastra, which you can use to prove that you have presence of mind. No other example, no other keyword would prove your presence of mind enough. Uh, it won't do, it cannot do enough. Then what this would do? So use the given keywords in the question paper in your answers. This is very important in essays as well. So UPSC gives you 8 topics in essay. You have to write 2 essays only. So what I used to do was I used to quote 6 other essays in my 2 essays. So this used to, I am sure this would have had positive impact on examiner. He would have appreciated my presence of mind, that not only I am writing essay, I am using the given question paper itself in my answers. So this is what is mind training. I told in the beginning that we'll discuss about mind training. So mind training, to follow the example list that I've told, to follow the approach of using the question paper itself, to limit your theory in answers to 20% and not more than that, to draw diagrams. I'll come to it in the coming slides. Overall, you have to train your mind. If you don't train your mind, if you just practice, it won't help. So train your mind that my answer will start from introduction. In introduction, I'll define keywords. If the question is from current affairs, I'll write the news background. If question is asking 3 or 4 subparts, then I'll make separate headings for each subpart. I'll write my answers in points. I'll try to present n number of dimensions in my answer. I'll use keywords. I'll use keywords from syllabus, from previous year question paper, from current question paper. I'll write examples. I'll draw diagrams. I'll write conclusion. You have to train this, train your minds regarding this. You have to ingrain this answer structure in yourself. I repeat, you have to ingrain this answer structure in yourself. You have to repeat it daily, in and out. Then only you will be able to reproduce this answer structure. It is tough. You won't be able to reproduce in single attempt or two attempts or single day. It will take time. Just train your mind. So, coming on to the next slide now, keywords. I have already discussed a lot about importance of keywords. One thing that missed was that your answer must look like that of ethics and not GS. Now, what is this? There are questions in ethics that might look very generic. For example, UPSC has asked questions on environment degradation in ethics, corporate social responsibility in ethics, uh, questions on tolerance, etc. These questions, like CSR, it was asked in ethics paper perhaps in 2014 or 15. Now, I can ask you this question in GS-1 as part of society, or I can ask you this question in GS-2 in polity. I can ask this question in eco as well, but UPSC is asking this question in ethics. Now, what will be the difference? What will be the deciding factor, X factor, which will which will help you gain more marks? That is keywords. Your answer in ethics paper should look like answer of ethics and not society or polity or economy. You simply cannot write generic points or generic answers. This is where this concept of ethical touch in your answer comes into play. So you can use theories, you can mention thinkers in as passing reference, you can write keywords from syllabus to ensure that even for the most abstract of questions, the points that you are writing are related to ethics. For example, even before discussing other questions, let me give you a question. Say poverty is a challenge in Indian society. Various governments have tried their best. It has reduced to certain extent in last few years, but then the sheer numbers are huge. Now, give some steps to counter poverty. Now, this question can be asked in society, in polity, in inclusive justice, in economy. Now, I have asked you this question in ethics. So, do not write points that are general GS, write points from ethics. What comes to your help, to your rescue is syllabus. In the beginning itself, I told you the importance of syllabus. Now, if you remember syllabus, the first chapter of ethics is ethics and human interface, human values, attitude, aptitude, emotional intelligence, philosophers, probity, and uh, public values, civil values. So, the first point that I'll write in this poverty question is that according to Bible, a good society is that where no one falls through the cracks of society. Or according to Mahatma Gandhi, Sarvodaya principle, we should uplift one and all. So this gives ethical touch to my answer. Second, human values. Now, in human values, there is a subtopic of learning from the lives of leaders. So, you can pick a leader like Mother Teresa to write in this answer. I did not prepare this question beforehand. Trust me, I swear by everything I have. This is a question that I gave you on the spot, and I am making on the spot answer from ethics. Third chapter is attitude. So in attitude, there are concepts like there are concepts of thoughts, belief, and behavior. So I'll try to influence thoughts of others who are well off to generously donate for the benefit of entire society. Very easy point, very simple point, but then it gives ethical touch to your answer. Similarly, in aptitude, foundational values, empathy or compassion. You can quote Khalil Gibran, you can quote Dalai Lama. So, a number of points you can write by using the syllabus itself, by using the index itself. So that is the importance of keywords. It can turn your answer from a generic one to ethics answer. Now, these are some of the keywords that I mentioned here from my book, Collegiality, Lok Sangrah, Lokhit, Arambh initiative that was recently introduced by government. I have included this initiative in the second edition of book. Karma Doctrine, Knower Doer Split. Goldman is a thinker for emotional intelligence. Gita, Mahabharat, Ramayana, all the religions I have already told, and syllabus. So there are a number of keywords in my book. You can go through them, or you can refer your own material, make a list of keywords, and just train your mind to use them. So coming on to the next slide, diagrams. Now this is the most important slide of this presentation and video. Uh, I think that by now everyone knows that they have to draw diagram, but then they are not drawing. I don't know the reason why people are still not drawing. There are a number of platforms, a number of topper strategies available for free, where each and every second person is discussing the importance of diagram, but still aspirants are not drawing it. I don't know who told me, God came or someone else, I don't know. I have been drawing diagrams since 2013, my first attempt. So it was like natural to me that I have to draw diagrams. What diagram does is that it gives you +1 for one diagram. So if in a GS paper you are drawing 10 diagrams, there are 4 papers, you have +40. uh, do you realize the importance of +40? You might be IS, or you might not be in the list and sitting again for the next pre. This is the power of +40. I got 173 rank. The difference between one who got 100th rank and me was just 12 marks. So 40 is a huge thing. In 2014, my interview score was second lowest among selected candidates. My mains rank was All India 11th. So my interview score of 110 was second lowest. Even if I had got 138, that is 50%, I would have got 74th rank. So +40 is something way beyond all this. So draw diagrams. I myself could not draw more than 7 or 8 diagrams in one GS paper, but then even drawing 7 diagrams in a paper and 28 or 30 diagrams in 4 papers means +30. So, what sort of diagrams can you draw in ethics? Now, the first and basic one is Venn diagram. In questions which are like difference between law and ethics, or partisanship and neutrality, you can draw Venn diagram. Like this is law, this is ethics, and this area is law plus ethics. It is a very basic diagram. It is very easy. In questions like uh, values of public life, these are values of public life as per Nolan committee. These are general values. So this is a bigger picture, this is a small picture. You can draw these sort of diagrams, or you can draw block diagrams like this happens, then this happens, and if this has happened, then this will happen. If no, then this. For example, uh, there is corruption. Uh, this decision making diagram is more easy to draw in section B, but because there are decisions to make in section B, but then in section A also you can draw these diagrams. For example, say there is a court based question that it was asked that ambitions and character of life related question was asked once, that uh, ambitions are part of one's character. So principles of one's own life define what they'll do with their ambitions. So explain with life of two rulers, one who was positive in his ambitions and second who was negative in his ambitions. So here you can write ambition, here you can write character. Now, character is present, yes. Then say Ashoka. Or character is absent, then say Hitler. So these are very easy to draw. Uh, you do not have to prepare them beforehand. What you simply have to do is train your mind that I'll draw this sort of diagram. Uh, on the spot, you will be able to convert whatever theory, whatever answer you have written into a diagrammatic representation. So it is very easy, and trust me, we'll discuss more of these. We'll see more of these diagrams in the questions that we'll discuss. You can easily draw them. So Venn diagram is one. Then I've told you these concentric circles. I've told you about blocks. Uh, Question specific diagrams can be drawn. For example, uh, many pub students I have seen using this diagram from transparency, accountability, responsiveness, and in center they say good governance. So these sort of diagrams you can practice. There are other diagrams in my book. You can go through them, and we'll discuss in the questions as well. So diagrams are very important. These are innovative ways to not only gain the attention of examiner, gain that extra mark, but also it improves your presentation. It provides the all important X factor to your answers. It breaks monotony in your answers, etc. So you simply cannot overlook diagrams. Practice them. Now, this is the last part of your answer structure, that is conclusion. So, on my Telegram group as well, I get this query quite often that is it important to write conclusion in every question? Trust me, all your effort till now of good introduction, definition of keywords, examples, diagrams, theories, thinkers, etc., it will go in vain if you are not drawing, if you are not writing conclusion. So conclusion won't fetch you extra mark. But then if you have not written conclusion, trust me, you are bound to lose at least 1 or 2 marks, -1 or -2. This happens. Uh, I am told by people that this happens. Trust me on this. So conclusion is very important. Now, uh, all you have to do is summarize your answer in 1, 2, or 3 lines. There is no need to write fancy quotes, fancy things. You have done that enough in your entire answer by writing keywords, by drawing diagrams. So there is no such need. But then, if you want to write a quote, write a quote. If you want to end your answer with a way forward approach, then you can do that. But then, this is most common in GS2 and GS3. Quotes can be written. So, but then a plain conclusion would also serve the purpose. My In my answers, mostly conclusion is hence such and such thing is XYZ. So I just summarize my answer in 1 or 2 lines. I do not write anything fancy because uh, time limit is very less. You have to complete an answer in 7 minutes. and then you have that case study acts on your head, that less time is left for case studies. You cannot spend more time on conclusion, but then do not skip it. So this is the answer structure that we that I use to follow for ethics. I'll try to detail it here again. First is introduction. In introduction, you are defining keywords. You are mentioning theories as passing reference. Thinker. For example, I told you if there is a question on emotional intelligence, you will write Goldman. You will define keywords. You will write news background if it is a current oriented question. You will divide it into headings. If question is asking 2 or 3 parts, you will write answer in points. Points should not be generic. Points should be ethical points. Then you will draw diagram and you will write conclusion. Sorry, I missed examples. The most important thing I missed, examples. So you have to write examples, at least one. uh, if you write two, then very good, but then you have to write at least one example in every question. So 80% of your answer must be application based and 20% of your answer is theoretical. This theoretical comes from uh, the names of thinkers, the keywords, the theories which you answer as passing reference. So this is the broad answer structure that I used. Now let us discuss some questions. I'll discuss 4 questions. These questions are mix of static as well as analytical questions. So this is the first question that came in 2019 exam. That is, what are the basic principles of public life? Illustrate any 3 of these with suitable examples. 150 words, 10 marks. You have 2 pages to write this answer and you have 7 minutes. I'll discuss this structure, and in the next question I'll take a break, a small pause after reading the question, and I'll ask you to uh, try it yourself. So, what is the keyword that you can identify in this question? It is public life. I do not see any other keyword in this question. So, define public life. Do not just start your answer that 3 basic principles of public life are these. This shows immaturity, this shows lack of clarity of what UPSC wants from you. If UPSC has written a word, then trust me, there is a reason behind it. It has written public life, it wants you to discuss it, it wants you to define it. So, define public life. Public life is a collection of political, cultural, social, and economic structures which make up a society. You can write any definition of public life, there is no single definition. But then, quote I have mentioned here. By the way, these are from my book, second edition of Decode Ethics. So, in that book, in theory, there was a quote that ethics in public life have to be grounded in ethics in private life. Now, this was really fitting in this answer, so I use that quote here. Now, come to what UPSC has asked. What are the basic principles of public life? If you have read ethics well, then you must be aware that principles of public life were given by Nolan Committee. So, in answer, it is imperative of you to mention the name of thinker, that is Nolan. If you do not mention this thinker, trust me, you will lose marks. It is important because it is very basic. Even if you have read ethics for once, even if you have not referred a book, you have read a ready-made coaching material which are very poor, still you would be aware of Nolan. So this is very important to mention Nolan here. Uh, if you know the name of committee, that is the Committee for Standard in Public Life, then very good. Mention that as well. Now he gave 7 principles. I still remember on my tips. Those were selflessness, openness, objectivity, honesty, accountability, integrity, and leadership. I had made this acronym SUHAIL by Sohail Khan. Just add one another O. So this is selflessness, this is openness, objectivity, honesty, accountability, integrity, and leadership. So mention all these keywords here and say that these are the basic principles of public life. I've drawn this diagram, which I already told you about concentric circles. So Nolan principles are only 7, but then there must be other principles as well, 100 of principles. So you can draw this diagram as shown in the screen. Now this takes care of the first part of the question. I already told you that you will write separate headings if the question is asking 2 or 3 parts. So I have made a separate heading here. 3 important principles, because the question is asking illustrate any 3 of these with suitable examples. So again you can see that UPSC has already asked you to write examples. So I picked selflessness, honesty, and leadership. You can pick any other. So in selflessness, what I have written is that one should act in best interest of others and not to meet own vested interest. Example, while undergoing UPSC medical test, I noted huge queue of patients waiting for doctor's examination. I requested the staff to first examine them and not give us the preference. This was literally happening. When you go for UPSC interview, you'll yourself see that this happens, that patients are waiting, but then you are given a preference. So this happened, I did it, and I quoted this in uh, 2015 or 2017 exam. So as I already told while discussing examples, this will not only tell the examiner that I have already appeared for interview, this will also tell the ethical side of the things. So this is perhaps the best way to sell yourself. So second is honesty. One should be honest and uphold virtue of truth, even in most grave situation. For example, a public servant shall practice fortitude and be honest to duty, even against pressure of all sorts. Now, if you see this point, I have used keywords of virtue, honest to duty, and fortitude. If you are aware of Aquinas or Aristotle's cardinal virtues, you will know that fortitude is one of the cardinal virtues. So, see the way in which I used keyword even in my example. So, this is the level of mind training that you have to do with respect to keywords. Nowhere my answer is theoretical, my answer is practical, it is applicable, but then I am trying my best to use keywords to show the theoretical side of my knowledge. Similarly, in the next part, leadership, leading from the front and showing way to others must be followed by everyone in public sphere. Hence, various virtues of public life give direction and firm character to one's life. Now, this firm character to one's life, it is also a keyword. You can find it in my book. It must be written on page 1 or 2 that ethics provide firmness to one's character. So, again, if you go through the entire answer, if you just list out the keywords, Nolan principle 1, I have mentioned these 7. I won't call them keywords because these were specifically asked by the question itself. Virtue, duty, fortitude, character. So there are at least 5 keywords. There is a diagram. This is +1. I have defined public life. I have written a quote. I have mentioned Both the parts I have made separate heading, and I have given one example, two examples, and I have written conclusion. Be honest, if this is a 10 marker question, how much would you give to this answer? So be honest with yourself and give your own rating. Trust this answer structure that I am telling you. Uh, I won't get anything by misguiding you. So it is up to you how you use this answer structure. I honestly would give myself 5 or even more in this answer because it tries to cover each and every aspect that is required of an aspirant for ethics answer. Coming on to the next slide. So this is a quote based question. Now this is very important. Be very careful, be very attentive right now. So those who are sleeping or those who are sleepy, wake up. Uh, this is very important because every year UPSC asks at least two or three quote-based questions, and often I have seen people struggling answering the quote-based questions. So this was asked in 2015. Question says, we can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of light. What it means to you in the present context. Now, this has to be answered in 150 words, 2 pages, 10 marks, 7 minutes. This is a question of ethics. I need answer of ethics, not generic answer. So, as I told you previously, be honest. Do not look at the answer. If you are already looking at it, staring at it, look away. Try to recall the structure that we discussed in the session so far in the previous question. Try to frame the structure, try to frame the answer in your mind, then look at the answer. Try to learn while the video is on. You might not listen to the you might not watch this video again. You might keep ethics aside for a while and then you'll forget. So it is better that try to apply the concepts that I am telling you right now. So just give yourself a minute, identify the keywords. If you're not able to find a keyword to define, see if there is a news background somewhere. Even if not that, try to identify the thinker or who gave this quote. You can write about that person in introduction. Try to see the if UPSC is asking more than two parts, try to visualize those parts, identify the headings, uh, see what examples you can write, what sort of diagram you can draw in this question. Just give yourself a minute. Okay, so the keyword that I can identify is forgive. Now I have missed this keyword in the answer. So this you can say is my mistake. Not every answer can be 100%. That is why we don't get 150. Otherwise, if every answer was perfect, we'll get more than 150 in every paper. So this is a mistake. I should have defined this keyword in the introduction. Point number one. Point number two, this is a quote based question. So it is better to write name of thinker if you are aware of who gave the quote. I think the quote was given by Plato. I have cross verified it on net. It was given by Plato. So Also, it was attributed to Robin Sharma. You can verify it, you can cross check. So, this is the theoretical part of it, that you give a passing reference of Plato and Robin Sharma. By this, you are telling the examiner that I am aware that who has given this quote. So, this is something extra that you are giving to the examiner. This is the X factor. So now just explain the code briefly. This is the structure that you have to follow in every code-based question. Try to identify the keyword, define that. Then second, mention the name of thinker. I'll write it here so you can remember it. Define the keyword, mention the name of thinker. Third, just give a gist of the quote, what it means to you in the present context it is asked. So just mention that what I've written, while a child can be forgiven for something that he has done in innocence or as he is unaware of the consequences, adult men ignoring truth is tragedy of life and they cannot be forgiven. So I just explained the given quote in 2 or 3 lines. Now begin the real struggle. What you will write to ensure that answer is of ethics. What sort of examples you have to write to show your innovative or create innovation or creativity. Now what I do in code-based questions is point number 4, that I use IR. Across the code-based question in my book, you will be able to clearly identify this, that I have used IR to answer code-based questions. Now, nobody told me to do this. This also came naturally to me. In a practice test in 2012, I used IR. So, after that, I just found that it really fit in. So also my roommate also noticed that. So we decided to use IR in code-based questions. So here I have written about, I equated the child with India at independence. This is the very answer that I wrote in exam in 2015. This is word to word same which I wrote in exam. So read it carefully. India at independence was an infant. It committed certain errors right through 50s and 16s, like industrial policy, but then it was afraid of the dark. Now, what you have to do is you have to include the lines of the questions, afraid of the dark. So, but it was afraid of the dark, that is capitalism and its challenges. We were under British for quite some time. Capitalism had led to imperialism and colonialism. So, India was perhaps afraid of capitalism and its challenges. As India was a child, it can be forgiven. Now, this handles the first part of the code, that we can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. Now, coming to the second part. But today, after 7 decades of independence, when India cannot be forgiven for not tackling evils like corruption. This is because India is afraid of light despite being grown up and learned. So I am using current affair as an example. I already told that you can use current affair. Corruption uh, comes in news every now and then, so you can use that. So this is a very innovative way of handling code-based questions. Another mistake that I have committed in this answer, which I want to tell you, is that I have missed keywords. So you have to write keywords. This answer is somewhat appearing to be generic, but then you can write keywords here. Uh, then I've drawn a diagram. As I told, in decision diagram or block diagram can be drawn. Mistake committed by learned men. Even learned men, to commit mistake is human. So you can commit mistake, but then is it a honest mistake? It happened or you meant it to happen. So is it an honest mistake? Yes, it is an honest mistake. If so, it can still, a person can still be forgiven. So, for example, some accident happened because of you. So, accident happened because you were trying to save a child, but then you uh, hit someone else in that process. So, it is an honest mistake. You can still be forgiven in good faith. But then, if your intention was to cause murder, so you will have to face punishment. But then you ran away, you are afraid of the light. So this is how you can fit uh, that example and question together. So this is very innovative way of handling tough code-based questions. Another example I have written from current is of RTI, that while ARC called it a beacon light of transparency, learned men bypass it. This further reduces transparency. Hence, stringent action SOPs, code of conduct, etc. are required against such lack of implementation. Now, I mentioned that I missed keywords in the beginning, but then I have covered it in the end. ARC we generally tell to use in GS2, but then in GS4 as well, ARC can be used to huge effect. Transparency is a keyword. Uh, Code of conduct is a keyword that is mentioned in syllabus. So I have used three keywords. I have drawn a diagram. I have given two examples. I have mentioned the thinkers, and I have given a gist of the question. So this is the format that you have to use. And lastly, conclusion. Conclusion is this part of the question. So entire format is covered in this answer. Uh, it is difficult, but then revisit the video, re-look at the answer structure, and you will be able to use this format in another code-based questions. Plus, in my book, you can find a number of such code-based questions solved. There are sample questions as well, so you can look the answer, you can read the answer, and then try those sample questions yourself. Coming on to the third question. Now, this is a static question. Discuss Mahatma Gandhi's concept of seven sense. This was asked in 2016. As I've already told, 2016 paper was very static. So, how to handle this question? Now, if you are not aware of seven sense, so you simply cannot write. Uh, of course, you can fill pages, but then it is highly unlikely that you will get the answer right. So this is what happened in 2016, that many people got 150, 140 plus marks. The reason is that paper was very tough. So UPSC had to scale up. It had no other option. Uh, Now the paper was tough. Questions were static, like seven cents, Rawls, Weber. So paper marks had to be scaled up. So do not worry. The first mantra is that do not worry when you see a static question. Just tell yourself that you have prepared very well. If you do not know this question, then 90% of other candidates would not be knowing it. So, first is that do not lose heart. Now, whatever you know about Gandhiji, uh, you can use the positive ideals that Gandhiji gave, like honesty, truthfulness, non-stealing, uh, or satyagrah, upliftment of all. Uh, so, character. So, these are the basic things that you associate with Mahatma Gandhi. Now, some or other such features would fit in seven cents. Even if you don't know, you can easily fill two pages. Now, coming on to the answer that I have written. So, what is the keyword here? One is the thinker, one is the word seven cents itself. So, I have not defined seven sins because this is the only question that has been asked, so there is no need per se. But then you can write a one or two lines on Mahatma Gandhi in introduction. I have missed in this answer. You can write that. So you can write about the contribution of Mahatma Gandhi to national struggle, uh, mentioning the keywords of ethics like leadership, honesty, that Mahatma Gandhi led India's freedom struggle and depicted qualities and virtues of leadership, honesty, and perseverance like no one else. So you are not only giving an introduction, you are writing keywords of ethics. Now, seven sins are wealth without work, pleasure without consciousness, knowledge without character, commerce without morality, science without humanity, religion without sacrifice, politics without principles. Key to this question is writing examples. Like I have written here about politics without ethics deals with lack of ethics in politics. Example, criminalization of politics, or religion without sacrifice. I've not written an example here. I've written example in science without humanity of nuclear bomb. So there are two examples in this question. There is a diagram. There are keywords, ample keywords like responsibility is a moral attitude as given by Hildebrand. So I've used that. I've also written example here. So there are three examples in this question. There is a diagram, there is introduction and conclusion. So the format is followed. It is a very static question. There is not lot of point in discussing the entire answer. You can pause the video later and you can read the answer, or you can read the answer in book. The key of including this question in this video was to just tell you that do not lose heart while when you see a static question which you don't know. Just write whatever you can. You will get marks, because when the paper is tough, scaling up happens. Just follow the answer structure. Perhaps such tough question is given only to test your patience, your perseverance, your trust on your structure. So, coming on to the last question and last part of this video, this question was asked in 2014. So, the question is, in the context of defense services, patriotism demands readiness to even lay down one's life in protecting the nation. According to you, what does patriotism imply in everyday civil life? Explain with illustrations and justify your answer. Now, I have included this question because of statement. Now, these are the question, these are the type of questions which are asked in GS2 and GS3, that there is a statement given by UPSC, but the question asked is something else altogether. So the statement is, in the context of defense services, patriotism demands ready to lay down one's life for protecting nation. Now the question is something else. That according to you, what does patriotism imply in everyday life? Explain with illustration and justify your answer. What you will do this in this question? Would you leave the statement or would you address it? As I told you in uh, already, that if UPSC has given a line in question paper, it wants you to discuss it. So you have no other option. You have to discuss the statement. UPSC is not wasting its ink by mentioning this one statement in the question. If it has given a statement, discuss it. Write it in intro or write it in points, two or three points, but then you have to discuss. So, patriotism is our keyword. You have identified the keyword. Now you know that in intro you will define it. You will write the news background if there is any. You will try to identify thinker. So thinkers or leaders related to patriotism like Mahatma Gandhi, Bhagat Singh, Subhash Chandra Bose, in number of people are there. So you can mention any of them. Then in fourth point, you will handle the statement that in defense services there is need to lay your own life because you have to protect nation. So this is not only uh, I have mentioned it here. uh, National values encourage a person to imbibe feeling of patriotism and integration. Fundamental duties reflect values like patriotism and upholding national pride. So I have defined patriotism and I have tried to include keywords from constitution. So, national values, patriotism, integration, fundamental duties, national pride. So, these are the keywords from Constitution, Preamble, DPSPs, fundamental duties, fundamental rights, which you can very well use in this question. I have dwelled on the statement in this line that patriotism in context of defense services drives one to lay his her life to protect sovereignty and integrity of nation. Here patriotism is not only deeply ingrained but is also driven by duty. So deontological duty is concept of Kant. So again, see how I have mentioned a keyword as a passing reference. I have mentioned the theory. You can also write Kant in bracket. That so you're telling examiner that I know who has given this theory, and you are just using the theory as a word. So you are still maintaining that 80-20 rule. Now come to the question which UPSC has asked. According to you, what does patriotism imply in daily life? Write 4 or 5 points. These points must be ethical. You have to explain with illustrations or examples, and you have to justify your answer. So, what is patriotism for you in daily life? Like paying taxes, taking care of environment, uh, dignity of women. If you see a crime that is happening, a organizational crime, you whistle blow. So that is patriotism. If you see that you are traveling in metro and then you see a CRPF Jawan uh, tired at end of the day, yes, served his duty. If you are not that tired, you give him your seat. That small gesture is patriotism towards your forces. The recent incident that took place in Galwan Valley, if you uh, literally get goosebumps by whatever happened. That is patriotism in true sense. So you can quote these examples. You can quote examples from current affairs. Like I have written here, example of paying taxes, voting, contributing to socio-economic development of nation, not adding to pollution is patriotism. Then there is example of imbibing unity and brotherhood in daily life. So this again comes from constitution. So I am not only writing example, I am trying to include keywords. Just look at the answer, how I try to write keywords in my answers. So you can go through the answer. These I have written 7 points of patriotism in daily life. I have included 3 or 4 examples because it was mentioned that explain with illustrations and justify your answer. And then I have drawn a diagram. So this diagram is a little advanced. Patriotism is in the center, then there is how and what. So how you can have patriotism in daily life? By doing your duties, by doing service, by following your ambitions. Dr. Kalam said that if every person does great in his or her field, then nation would do great. So follow your ambition. It is also patriotism. Given that your ambitions are positive, then what? This is how of patriotism. Then what? love your country, pride, and national values are the what aspects of patriotism. And lastly, just conclude. So, I have included two leaders here, Swami Vivekanand and Dr. Kalam, and just written about their views on patriotism, how their life is a living example of patriotism in daily life. So, this uh, is all from my side in this video. I have tried to discuss each and every aspect, different type of questions that are asked in section A, ethics answer writing. If you have any doubts, then you can ping me on my Telegram channel. Uh, do not DM. Uh, Ask your queries on the group. There are 10,000 plus aspirants, which whom I am guiding daily for free. So ask your query in group. Others might have same query, so they'll also get benefited. You can visit my YouTube channel. You can visit my blog to download my answer copies. And lastly, this is a one-stop solution for ethics. You can read this book. It has theory as well as solved papers of previous years. It also has questions, 72 questions of state PCS. It is very apt for UP because UP and UPSC follow same syllabus. MP also has same syllabus. I have covered the extra syllabus of MP in book. Recently, Assam services have also modeled their ethics syllabus on in lines with UPSC. Also, I am coming up with my next book, so stay tuned for that. So that's it from my side in this session. Thank you.